Okay, so tonight we're going to be in Psalm 5, the first 8 verses. And this is a psalm of David. David wrote many psalms, obviously. And this particular psalm, he's praying. And as you know, prayer in a Christian's life is not only essential, it is a massive part of our life. I don't know about you, but as a Christian, I'm praying as much as I can, many times in the morning, at night, throughout the day. Anytime we need something, we're always praying. So King David here is just having a prayer. And so we're going to go through it. Psalm 5, verse 1, and we're going to go through the first 8 verses. And King David says, "Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditation." That's interesting because meditation by definition means to talk to yourself out loud, right? So it's almost as if when we're talking to ourselves out loud, we're actually talking to God. So this is what David's saying. He's saying, listen to me, Lord. Listen to the words that I'm saying, please. And then he goes on, he says, "Give heed to the voice of my cry, my King and my God." And you notice here that David is identifying God, who he's praying to, as his God and as his King. And I've been doing that lately too, because the truth is he is our God, he is our King. And when I say it verbally to myself, I'm acknowledging, oh man, I have a God, I have a King. So when I'm praying to him, I'm acknowledging this, and it lets me know what our relationship is. And it lets me know that I'm letting the Lord know how desperate I am. And desperation's a good thing in prayer. And the third verse, it says, "My voice shall hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning I will direct it to you, and I will look up." And what King David is saying is he's literally going to look up. Every morning when I get into work, I do my devotional and I have my paper. And once I'm done with that, I obviously pray on the way to work, and I get on my knees and I pray before I even leave my place. But specifically, when I look up, there's this spot that I go to at work, and it's an observatory, and it overlooks this massive construction site. And every morning the sun's coming up. It's such a blessing to be able to go to the Lord in such a beautiful place and just talk to him. What an awesome privilege it is that we have a creator, the creator of the entire universe, that is literally, his door is never closed. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you're going through. If you're walking it out with the Lord, he hears you. What a blessing that is. And then but anyways, my encouragement to you is just pray in the morning. And then we move on to the 4th verse. And David says, "For you are not a God who takes pleasure in wickedness." Obviously, anybody knows that. God does not take pleasure in wickedness, which means God does take pleasure in something. And if God doesn't take pleasure in wickedness, then he must take pleasure in righteousness. And then he goes on to say, "Nor shall evil dwell with you." Evil isn't going to live where God is. So if you have evil or wickedness in your life, it's not okay. But you will be forgiven if you go to the Lord and you repent and you change your ways. So don't live wickedly and don't live an evil life. And then the 5th verse of Psalm 5, it says, "The boastful shall not stand in your sight." So far we have wickedness, evil, and then let's add on to that boastful. God does not like people who brag about themselves. And even as human beings, if you see somebody bragging about themselves, that's a big turnoff, even on a human level. So get rid of wickedness, get rid of evil, do not boast. And it says, you hate all workers of iniquity. Iniquity is different than sin. We all sin every day. I sin every day. Christians sin every day. Every human sins every day. But that's not what iniquity is. Iniquity is like willful sin and just a sinful lifestyle. Essentially, it means that everything you do is a sin because that's who you are. You are a worker of iniquity. And then moving on, and it transitions as to what God does with wickedness, evil, boastful, and workers of iniquity. It says, you shall what? Destroy those who speak falsehood. The Lord abhors the bloodthirsty and deceitful man. Okay, so God is going to destroy all of those different categories of sin. And let's add on to that liars and bloodthirsty and deceitful men. Verse 7 says, but as for me, I will come into your house in the multitude of your mercy. In fear of you, I will worship toward your holy temple. It is so true. God is so amazingly merciful. So even if you had all of those qualities, wickedness, evil, boastful, worker of iniquity, liar, bloodthirsty, deceitful man, you can go into the multitude of his mercy because God is merciful and he loves you. So if you have those qualities, go to the Lord. He will forgive you. And then that last part, though, it says, in fear of you. The Bible tells us to fear God. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're afraid of God, although we should be. I mean, if he's the creator of the universe, yeah, we should fear him because he can do anything he wants. Okay? But it says, in fear of you, I will worship towards your holy temple. That's not what fear means. Fear is just acknowledging the Lord and being in awe of God. It's like, okay, I acknowledge that there's a God. And if you come to that conclusion, you say, okay, I acknowledge that there's a God. Well, if there is a God, then I should probably obey him. That makes sense, right? And then I will worship towards your holy temple. And then the last verse, it says, lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness because of my enemies. Make your way straight before my face. Every day, because I've been separated from the Lord. I've only been walking it out with the Lord for a little over 4 years now. I've been separated from the Lord. Every day I ask God, Lord, please guide my every single step. Lord, don't let me take a misstep in any direction ever, because I don't ever want that separation from you. So my encouragement to you from Psalm 5 and verse 8 is go through this on your own. You know, don't just listen to me. Go through Psalm 5, verse 1 through 8, and cry out to the Lord. Pray to him. And have the relationship with him. And don't ever look back. And be blessed by it. That's my encouragement to you. Thank you for joining.